Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin, and this segment is sponsored by Claire. In Cuba, more than 300,000 citizens in 13 Ecuadorian provinces have learned how to read and write with the Cuban literacy methodology known as Yes, I Can, which was implemented by 54 Cuban teachers in the South American nation. A ceremony at the Ministry of Education to mark the end of a stage in the literacy campaign was attended by hundreds of people who participated in the initiative since 2011. The campaign helped lower illiteracy rates from 6.5 to only 3.5% in all Ecuadorians over 14 years of age living in the country's most backward regions. The meeting was attended by Education Minister Augusto Espinosa, Cuban Charge d'Affaires Basilio Gutierrez, Bolivian Ambassador Rosina Maribel Santamaria, and legislator Ximena Ponce, among other authorities. Espinosa thanked the Cuban education team for its work and reiterated his government's willingness to wipe out illiteracy from the country. Meanwhile, Cuban diplomat Basilio Gutierrez congratulated all participants in the program and called on them to keep going to higher stages in the education initiative. The Cuban Yes I Can methodology was created to help eradicate illiteracy in all nations of the world. More than $2 billion is spent on the annual food import bill by CARICOM countries, which have a combined population of only 6 million people. Dr. Richard Cox, Capacity Building Officer of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, shared the statistic yesterday. And I quote, "It is worth noting that CARICOM itself produced the figures to show that our import food bill runs over $2 billion every year," he said. His comments were part of a capacity building workshop on the NAPIFS alignment process in the Caribbean sub-region. The situation is particularly acute in small island developing states. Resident Representative Richard Blewett said, like most SID's Caribbean countries, face challenges originating from their small size and geographical location, small economies, limited infrastructure, and high vulnerability to natural disasters such as hurricanes. The workshop, which concludes on August 15th, is being held at the Capital Plaza Hotel in Port of Spain by the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources in collaboration with the UN. Minister in the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources, Ramona Ramdiel, said since 2010 to the present there had been a 2% decrease in TNT's estimated $4 billion annual food import bill. She attributed the decrease to a series of government projects called the Caroni Green Farm Initiative, through which farming was done on a large scale to supply supermarkets and people with domestically produced food. She said the project was very successful to date. Ramdiel said both her ministry and the Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development stand to gain valuable information from the workshop regarding land resources management. The Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development recently revised its policy on hillside development in regards to flooding. As an example of the importance of proper land resources management, she cited the Diego Martin area, which she said flooding caused landslides and landslips, which in turn were the result of agricultural or housing hillside development. Another example of the importance of land use was the Point Fortin to San Fernando Highway project, she said, adding that the lack of proper transportation routes in South Trinidad precipitated the need for the highway extension project. The Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, has announced that the overall performance at the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination has reached the 90% mark for the first time in 6 years. It said this year 90.15% of the unit entries achieved grades 1 to 4, which are the acceptable grades at CAPE, noting that in the last 5 years, the percentage of entries achieving acceptable grades remained steady at 89%. But the council said the growth of CAPE slowed this year for both candidate and unit entries. It said the number of candidates entered for CAPE stood at 28,228, an increase of 185 candidates compared with 2012. The number of unit entries increased marginally. This year, over 109,000 unit entries were submitted compared with over 108,000 last year. Of the 28,228 candidates taking CAPE, 62% are female and 38% are male. The majority, 43%, are 18 years old, 33% are 19 years old, and 21% are 17 years old. CXC said that this year 13.77% of unit entries achieved grade 1, 19.03% achieved grade 2, and 22.2% achieved grade 3. 19.49% achieved grade 4, and 15.67% achieved grade 5. The Barbados-based Regional Examination Council said performance improved on 19 units, remained steady on 10, and declined on 17 units. Art and design units and 1 and 2 returned the best results overall, with 100% of entries achieving grades 1 to 5. The highest percentage of grade 1s, 58%, was also achieved in Art and Design Unit 2. CXC said there were mixed performances in mathematics and the natural sciences, while most of the units in the humanities cluster performed better than they did last year, with only a few exceptions. Of the 6 business units, Management of Business Unit 2 returned the best performance, 96%, even though it was 1% below last year's performance. CXC said Economics Unit 2 showed the most improved performance when compared with last year. 87% of entries achieved acceptable grades compared with 79% last year. Economics Unit 1 remained the same as last year with 82% of acceptable grades. The units in the Technical and Vocation cluster performed better than they did last year with one exception. CXC said both units of Art and Design achieved 100 acceptable grades and that there was a 10% improvement in performance for Electrical and Electronic Technology. The 2 single-unit core courses, Caribbean Studies and Communication Studies, continue to perform very well. 97% of entries for Communication Studies achieved grades 1 to 5 this year, CXC said, noting that this is an improvement on the 95% which gained similar grades last year. For Caribbean Studies, 93% of entries achieve acceptable grades, a decline when compared with 2012, when 97% of entries achieved similar grades. The ultimate vision behind the training of hundreds of Cuban-educated Guyanese doctors is to gradually replace serving foreign specialists with a competent, dependable, and well-trained army of medical professionals, according to Health Minister Biri Ramsaran. The minister told reporters in an interview last Saturday at the International Conference Center that there's a large contingent of foreign specialists, predominantly Cubans, who help man the health system in providing a higher level of medical science. At the same time, the country is producing doctors who are confident and skilled enough to provide this said service to their countrymen, the minister said. Additionally, the Cubans are helping Guyanese to do just that. Apart from the overseas training, the minister pointed out that they are now considering post-graduation programs. As a result of consideration by the Health Ministry and the government, Ramsaran said he was able to meet with the Cuban Minister of Health, who vowed to assist in after-graduation training programs which will guide the students and aid them in settling into new profession while identifying a specific area of expertise. Only recently, a high-powered Cuban team arrived in Guyana to assist in crafting the postgraduate programs. And I quote, "As they grow, they will be deployed in further fields to bring more services to more people, more times, in more places," the minister poised. In the meantime, while plans for the graduates are being finalized, they say they are eager to get into the field. Some say they dreamed of the day when they would graduate in their desired field, while others emphasize on being able to help people. During the 7 hard training years spent away from family and friends in Cuba, it was tough, according to best graduating student and valedictorian Timothy Emmanuel Morgan, who said, and I quote, "But the Cubans are extremely friendly people who are willing to share their culture and knowledge. Now that we are home, we as a group are one of the largest returning, and we are motivated and we have the will to serve. We are ready and willing to serve Guyana and the health sector in a comprehensive manner," Morgan asserted. 25-year-old Vanessa Singh of West Bank Demerara said she's also eager to be of service to her fellow citizens. She was especially passionate about this and sadly, while away studying, she lost both her parents to illness. Singh explained that it was difficult to concentrate and to go on, but the support of her peers and the Cuban professors gave her courage. Terwar Kardram, 25, of Adventure on the Essequibo coast, And Lionel Henry, 26, of New Amsterdam, Berbice, were more than ecstatic about their graduation. They both highlighted the difficulty associated with learning Cuba's native tongue of Spanish. They said students have to take the first year off to familiarize themselves with the language and later become as fluent as possible since the whole curriculum is taught in Spanish. Externally, Guyanese students teamed up, they noted. You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. Stay tuned.
5 million customers use Lyca Mobile for affordable international mobile calls, connecting over 2.5 million mobile calls daily, helping our customers stay in touch with their loved ones, whether they be in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the rest of the world. Every 5 seconds, a new Lyca Mobile customer joins our growing family, helping you to make affordable international calls across the world. Lyca Mobile. Call the world for less.